Today, we are joined by two individuals who are exceptional, and they happen to be building a better tomorrow for us all by way of Represent Collaborative. That's a storytelling collaborative focus that really is centralized on racial and social justice issues. I want to welcome in Aaron Fair, the co-founder of Represent Collaborative, and Dr. Akila Kadei, Chief Creative Officer. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, all right. So, there are a lot of online blogs and storytellers out there, but what makes Represent Collaborative unique, Aaron?
So we're truly a collaborative. I worked in media for about 20 years, and over the summer, really, in addition to kind of looking at all facets of American society, really was looking at media and how kind of white supremacy and racism was kind of built into that as well. And so when I was laid off from my job, I sort of saw all these beautiful stories in the press that were happening in the month of June, kind of celebrating activism and Black voices. And I just knew, because I'd sat in all those meetings, that in about 30 days, they were gonna start saying, okay, that's done, let's move on, let's see where else we can go. And I also realized that I kind of had this network that wanted to help and contribute beyond, protesting and donating, and that we could potentially continue to tell these stories in a really kind of high quality way that could get, picked up. We've worked with all these publications, so we kind of knew the secret codes to get these stories into the paper and getting them staying there. So I just put out a call, and we have about 200 volunteer reporters, photographers, writers, creative directors from, the New Yorker, Vanity Fair, New York Times, Washington Post, and we produce stories collaboratively. So we completely get rid of that power structure where, you can't see your stories, you can't see your images, you can't read your quotes. Once you've told us, then we're telling your story. And, as a white creator myself, I realized that's no way to tell an accurate story. So we really work with our subjects as partners and create stories that both they are proud of and happy with, but that also teach us in the process sort of where we were going wrong previously, and how we can grow as reporters. So that's that.
All right, excellent. Well, I can appreciate that lasting change. And Akila, I know you have that fun title, Chief Creative Officer, or at least it sounds fun, because hey, I'd assume you get to be creative. But I'd love to hear, what kind of contributions are you able to make in terms of making change for Represent Collaborative?
Yeah, well, lots of change. Change is important in this work of changing the color of the marketing, the PR, the storytelling space, right? And in my day job, I'm founder and CEO of ChangeK, a diversity anti-racism consulting firm. So me coming in to work with RepCo, as we like to call it, I'm bringing in that diversity lens. I'm bringing in that expertise of how we're working with changing behaviors, how we're amplifying Black voices, and how we're taking people to the next level. As Aaron stated, there's a lot of white supremacy that's rooted in everything, which a lot of people are realizing since the murder of George Floyd, and continuous events that are happening for trauma, the insurrection, and the list goes on and on. So by having that place for people to learn more and to move forward with the collaborative approach that we have with the network, the expertise, and then me being the diversity person, we're able to change that and take it into more of an inclusive space.
That is excellent, because that change is necessary, because you're absolutely right for the fact that there is white supremacy embedded in all avenues and every walks in our society. And unfortunately, mainstream media is definitely one of them. I believe it's predominantly white and male. It's very similar in numbers to the rankings in law enforcement. And as we know, law enforcement can be problematic, so can media. So both of you, I'll pitch it to Aaron first. What is it about that you've identified really in mainstream media, things that you have seen that you would like to be handled differently, and for what inspired RepCo?
Well, I've, again, working in offices for so long, first I would notice that there was already this distrust, this we would say, oh, we want to cover, more people of color, we want to do this, and then, well, why are people calling us back? Why don't they want to be? So that was my first sort of thought. And then when I started doing this, and reaching out to people. I mean, I heard so many stories of people being just burned by the media. You know, that you think you're doing this one story or you're going to be represented in this one way, and you're represented completely differently. And again, I don't always think it's not intentional, but if you're having white voices like report on things that they're not completely familiar with, and again, like exercising this power where I know the best title, I know the best way this should be worded, you're really easily going to misrepresent someone. And I think especially for people who aren't really like media savvy, it can be like a really harmful experience. And so just by starting out from this place of trust and collaboration and honesty and transparency. So, you know, simple things that I think most journalists hold like golden rules, you know, we're breaking them. We show people their drafts, we show them their quotes. Most stories are very quote heavy. And so we let them choose their images, yay or nay. We never would publish an image that someone doesn't like, whether it's because of a double chin or where they're situated. So I think just having someone as a partner versus a subject is how we make sure that those stories are, you know, told the best way that they could be told, with not having Black voices telling Black stories, which is obviously the ideal, right? So how can we do our best?
And Akilah, I see you nodding your head along. Do you have something you want to contribute in this?
Yeah, I mean, Adrienne, you know that a lot of our stories in the media are centered around trauma, right? And we're traumatizing ourselves telling the stories and working in the respective ways in which we work about, you know, getting that message out there, changing the way things are done. And there's really no happy medium. It's like trauma or, wow, this Black person did this thing and it's exceptional. This person sold 1 million units, and you know, there's nothing in between about us, about everyday people who are doing tremendous things, whether it's opening their, you know, bakery, Black people surfing, you know, dispelling stereotypes that are out there. It's really changing that story. And so much that I do at my firm and with Repco is how do we provide that space, that centralized space to take the narrative elsewhere? And also, quite frankly, selfishly as a Black woman, to find a space where I can be celebrated, where I can celebrate other people, where I can see that there is good in the world when we see so much hate.
Absolutely, and it's something in what you said, Akilah, really resonated with me in terms of that in-between space, because the in-between is the humanity. Because when you always see people with a melanin count being beaten up by police or regulators in some way, and you don't get to see that element of the everyday, of the family life, and the stereotypes continue to thrive. And so I'd love to explore the ways in which you all have really undermined these ongoing stereotypes. So if you wouldn't mind giving me some examples of the stories that come out of Repco, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Well, we have a new story that will be launching next month to celebrate Black History Month. It's called the Black Truth Project. It's a collaboration with my company, with our Repco, and also Lululemon. And it's all about, yes, MLK is really important. Rosa Parks, really important. But again, that in between, that humanity, we interviewed exceptional Black people who are telling us the truth around microaggressions, skin color, hair, joy, you know, and what is needed for allyship. We want Black people to see themselves and be celebrated, but we also want to continue this call of action to move past the summer of allyship.
Absolutely, that's very powerful. And Erin, do you have any stories that really resonated with you from your work at Repco?
Yeah, I mean all of them, but one I'm always excited about the ones I'm working on now. You know, one of our other points is to partner with media organizations so that, you know, we give our stories either low cost or for free to media outlets, just to make sure that we're not monopolizing the content, we're trying to disseminate it. And so we have a partnership with the San Francisco Chronicle now, and they're going to be running a story this Sunday that we did about Amelia Ashley Ward, who is the publisher of the Sun Reporter, which is one of the oldest Black newspapers in America. It's almost 80 years old, based in San Francisco, still publishes weekly, 30 cents an issue. And she's also, you know, one of BFF with Vice President Kamala Harris and one of her earliest and most influential supporters. So she's been with her since her very first political campaign. And, you know, a lot of people in the community really credit her with who's in the White House right now. So having that connection, telling her personal story, her real story, because, as Vice President Kamala said in her acceptance speech, like, I stand on the shoulders of other Black women. And this is who she's talking about. These are the women who got her to where she is. And so hearing her story, where she's just, in her office plugging away, publishing this paper for the Black community for, over 35 years, it's just such a special story. And I'm just really happy to celebrate. And she said, no one's ever written a story about me. I've been writing about people, my whole life. So I'm really excited about that one.
I'm excited that these stories get to be told. And can both of you please tell us where people can find you on social media?
Absolutely. You can find me at Change Cadet, Change Cadet Like Soldier, and lots of resources that are available there as well.
Thank you. Aaron?
And we're at Represent Collaborative on Instagram and representcollaborative.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.